Hi, it's Shelby, and this is my database for Sunkist tanning. Claire is the one that I created the database for. She's the owner of Sunkist Tanning, and I created a database to fit her needs of her need for something to better keep track of her business. So, starting over in the customer table, which is where I believe the best start would be to the flow of the data of the tables is the customer table. So here I have the customer table relating to the membership detail and the transaction table. A customer can be a member, but they don't have to be. So here we would keep track of if you are a member, if you're a bronze member, when you started being a member, and then also then that member detail table relates then to the service detail table where we keep track of the level, which it means if you're a member, you're going to have a specific level that you're tanning at because the member usually purchases the year and you're the bronze member. So, um, and then in that table as well, we're going to keep track of the price per session, month and year, which I thought was important because the more that you purchase, so the longer that you purchase the tanning for, the better deal you get. So those are three different prices there. So then the customer table also relates to our transaction table, which is important to note because this way, the reason I did it this way is so that you can pull back later and look at which customer each transaction was done for. And then that also relates the transaction table with the employee table, which is showing um, here is the employee and all their information of what employee did what transaction and for what customer. So then from there, the transaction table relates to the transaction detail table and item table. The transaction detail table is that bridge table between transaction and item tables, so that you can have a better way of showing which items were purchased in which transaction. Um, so, and then also in the transaction table, you keep track of all the information. So like when it was done, how much it was. And then the item table is the bigger, broader things of the name, description, and everything of each of the products or services, which then takes us to the service and product table, which relate to that item table. I added in this item table after my initial creation of this database design because I had the service and product table relating to my transaction detail table, which didn't work because I had transaction ID, item ID, or no, I didn't have item ID. I had then service ID and product ID because the reason that doesn't work is because in that way I'm saying, hey, every time you do a transaction, you have to have purchased a service and a product, which is, I mean, could be the case, but we want to be realistic in the way that you're not always going to go in and buy a, month or a session or a year of tanning every time you buy a product. So that is why I did it this way, so that that item table kind of joins together the service and product table so it can act as more of a detail thing to those two, and then also can help us with that bridge table between our transaction and item. And then finally our service and service detail tables relate because um, those two relate because the service is basically acting like in this situation as like just our tanning beds because those are the services we provide. But then it's more generic so that if we were to have a tanning, if the business were to expand and have massages too, that could be considered a service. What room is it in and everything, and so that acts as that table. So going on to my first example here, I have joined my employee, transaction, and customer tables to show the importance of those three tables and the way that they relate. So that showing here, I have my employee, Shelby Tessmer, with the ID of 1. She's my first customer here, which transaction she has done is what this is showing. So after she does more transactions, it's going to show all of the ones that she did and who it was for, what the day of that transaction was, and what the total of that transaction was. I think this is really important. If anything, you needed to pull back any information in the future, you can do that. You can change the where to be, whatever you need it to be. what I mean, or, by that I mean like whatever employee you needed to pull those transactions for, you just change that there to, let's look at employee number two, and here's all the transactions that employee number two did, who they were for, and here's a little bit of information about them. So then my other example here is joining up my item, service detail, and product table to show all of the prices of all of my products. I thought this was very important because being able to just pull back, here's all my products and services, and here's how much they are. So here, we're looking at a tanning lotion, and then here's the brand of it, the description of it, and here's the price of it. To note also, of course, there's going to be the nulls there in the price per session, month, and year for each of the services. I'm sorry, in each of the products, because you're not going to store, you're not going to have a price per session, month, and year for a lotion or any type of product that the business is going to have, because that wouldn't make any sense. But you're going to have, and then you're also not going to have that just overall price in one of your, tanning beds for the prices of that tanning bed per session, month, and year. So here is just a really good overall big join, full outer join between all of these tables that just really brings back some good information that I think is very important to show how all four of these tables relate together and how you can pull back and, see whichever information and details that you need to. I didn't need to necessarily pull back brand and description or even name or just description or whatever, but I thought it was important because you could have two Snooki brands lotions, but here's some other here's two different products. So that is my database, and this is all for Sunkist Tanning, and it definitely fits the needs of the business, so I hope it all works out.